The Kurt Cobain Axl Rose feud. Probably the most notorious, longest feud in rock history. Went on from 91 clear up until just last year, 2018, when Dave and Axl finally buried the hatchet. We've all been misinformed and led to believe that Kurt didn't like Axl simply because of what Axl represented. This corporate $1 million band, the ego bigger than the Goodyear blimp. Kurt's hanging on to his punk rock roots. He's trying to appeal to his underground fans, and he doesn't want to be friendly with Axl Rose. He represents everything that Nirvana stands against. That's what we've always been told. But that's only the tip of the iceberg, and I'm here to set the record straight. Let's start from the get-go, and let's go all the way to 2018. Okay, so let's pretend that it's 1991. And you're Axl Rose. Axl Rose, for all of you youngins out there, was the Kurt Cobain of the late 80s. He was the it guy. He was every high school and college boy who was into rock and roll wanted to dress, act, talk, walk, and be like Axl Rose. It's the dawn of a new decade, and he sees this whole grunge music thing taking over. But instead of bad-mouthing this new music coming out of Seattle, he embraces it. And in his video, Don't Cry, 1991 release, there's actually a shot of him wearing a Nirvana hat. He's saying, I'm a fan. I like what you guys are doing. So the whole world's talking about how Axl Rose is wearing this Nirvana hat and a Red Hot Chili Peppers hat in his Don't Cry video. And meanwhile, Nirvana is promoting 91's release, Nevermind. In an interview, Kurt's, we're not your typical Guns N' Roses type of band that has absolutely nothing to say. This hurt Rose, who couldn't understand why Nirvana, as well as several other prominent alternative groups, didn't like him, his band, or their music, Rose reportedly told Faith No More. I only like you guys, Nirvana, Jane's Addiction, and 2 other bands. And all of you hate me. Why do you hate me? It's like I went away and came home to find you guys my wife. Rose's hurt feelings did nothing to make Nirvana change their minds, Cobain declared. Rebellion is standing up to people like them. Now here's where a lot of the misconception, the misinformation comes into play. When you're big and famous, you need to protect yourself. You have lawyers, you have assistants, you have PR, people who respond to the media for you to ensure that you don't say or do anything that can put you in a situation where you can be sued. And this is what happened. Axl Rose's sister, Amy calls up this guy, Bryn Burdenthal, who worked for David Geffen's PR. He was legally allowed to speak for the bands signed to David Geffen's record. And Amy simply asked, we're trying to extend a hand. We're trying to help. Axl likes Kurt and Nirvana. Why won't they take our help? Why don't they want to tour with us? It is Bryn who responds. Okay, so actually let me paraphrase. And in case you're wondering, this comes from the book Everybody Loves Our Town, An Oral History of Grunge. So Bryn, he works for David Geffen Records. He responds to Amy by saying, Nirvana is against everything Guns N' Roses represents. You're a big, successful, corporate, $1 million rock band. That's the antithesis of Nirvana. Now, this is coming from a PR representative. This is not coming from Kurt Cobain, Dave Grohl, Chris Novoselic, Chad Channing, anybody who ever existed in Nirvana, Pat Smear. This is coming from their PR rep, and this is the answer that, if you go on YouTube, you're going to get for why Kurt Cobain hated Axl Rose. And the bickering and fighting does not stop there. It goes back and forward. Kurt says things about Axl in interviews. Axl says things about Kurt. Axl even ends up burning his Nirvana hat that he wore in the Don't Cry video live on stage in front of a packed audience. We come to the 92 MTV Video Music Awards, and we see Dave Grohl joining in the fun doing this. There are tons of YouTubers who have numerous videos detailing every single little public bickering fight between Nirvana and Guns N' Roses. If you want a complete detailed list, you should probably look to another channel. My goal is to tell you exactly why Kurt Cobain had so much disdain for Axl Rose. And it's not going to come from my mouth, it's going to come from Kurt's.
Well, you gotta take sides. Either you're yes on 9 or you're no on 9, man. You gotta take sides.
No on 9, but I'm talking about Axl here. Just hang on a second.
You're talking about an asshole?
Man, I think you guys should let music be music, man. Let everybody express what they want, man.
Yeah.
Be it hard rock, be it Nirvana,
Right on,
be it
man.
anyone, man. Just let them rock the way they want to rock,
Yeah,
okay?
right on, man, but
All right?
that's a corporate establishment. Which
But
is
you
something
can't
that-
let a rock star who obviously likes to beat women and likes to control women and who likes to tell women to shut up.
And who is niggers and
Speak your mouth
faggots?
shut. He obviously is a racist and a homophobe.
So yes, a lot of it was to do with them being more corporate. I mean, here's a picture of the first time Nirvana's on the cover of Rolling Stone. Kurt's wearing a shirt that says corporate rock magazines still suck, right? We know that they wanted to keep it punk, they wanted to keep it underground. But we also have to remember that they were signed to the same company, David Geffen. They were both millionaire rock stars at the peak of their careers. It more came down to this guy liking to beat women, liking to control women, telling women to shut up, being a racist, being a homophobe. But when you're famous, you can't say that about another famous person in an interview, and your PR sure isn't going to say it, because you could put yourself in a situation where you're sued for slander or false accusations. Now, we all know now that I think Axl Rose has been convicted of domestic violence 4 or 5 times. Don't quote me on that. But I think it's pretty much common knowledge that he has beat several of his ex-girlfriends, and he's an alcoholic and will go into fits of rage. Kurt knew these things. That's why he didn't want to mess with them. Kurt and Nirvana would do like charity events for women's rights activists. You know, they were feminists. They hated sexism. So of course a guy like Kurt and Chris is not going to go hang out with a guy like Axl. However, last year in 2018, Dave Grohl did bury the hatchet with Axl Rose. We all know about Dave fell off stage like a dummy and he hurt himself, and then he ended up playing the rest of his tour on this huge throne of gold that he made for himself, King Dave Grohl. And so later on, when Axl Rose broke his foot, he actually asked to rent the throne from Dave Grohl, and Dave was like, no man, you don't have to rent it from me, just use it. Axl ended up using it for some touring he was doing, and then in return Axl gifted Dave an old vintage guitar, and I'll put a picture of it up. I think it was either a 63 or a 65, I can't remember. I'll have a picture of it up for you guys. And yeah, they ended up playing a show together, and apparently Dave has no problem with hanging out with racist, homophobic, wife-beating alcoholics, but Kurt did. And that is your real reason why he refused to do anything with Guns N' Roses. And yes, I do find it ironic that the last person known to see Kurt Cobain was Duff, the bassist of Guns N' Roses. But that's a whole other video. Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Leave me a like if you learned something new. Any comments, suggestions, questions, you guys know I'll be down below. See you in the next video.